Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Bridge Talks. My name is Jacqueline Cowan, a volunteer from ISIC, and today we will be talking about Cognopolis with guest speaker Gustavo Ferreira. So hello, everyone. So the Bridge Talks is a series of informative lectures about the different fundamental concepts and specialties of conscientiology. And it's organized by ISIC, which is a group, a pre-conscientious institution, which is dedicated to the internationalization of conscientiology, to helping people from around the world access conscientiology. Today the topic will be about Cognopolis, otherwise known as the City of Knowledge. And I'm joined today by Gustavo Ferreira, who is a specialist in this area. So welcome, Gustavo, to the Bridge Talks.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here to talk about this very interesting topic of Cognopolis. And
Great.
Let's get going.
Yes, thank you for being here. So just, I guess I'll give a brief background information about Gustavo. Gustavo Ferreira, he resumated in Florianópolis, Brazil. He is a Penta practitioner since 2017, a conscientiology teacher since 2015, and a volunteer of conscientiology since 2004. And he is currently a volunteer at the International Association for the Implantation of Cognopolis in Santa Catarina, which is known as Orthocognitivus. So just very quickly, before I hand over to Gustavo, just how the structure of the Bridge Talks will work. Gustavo will give a talk for about for about half or less than half of the time. And then afterwards, we'll open up to questions. So if you have any questions at any time, please write a message in the chat, and then Gustavo will be answering them. Okay, so over to you, Gustavo.
Thank you very much. Can you put up the slides on screen? Oh, good. So everyone, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to be able to talk about this topic. I feel very flattered that Jacqueline says that I'm a specialist in this topic. I'd like to say that it's not, I'm not a specialist yet, but I'm working towards it by not only studying the topic, but by doing Cognopolis building and Cognopolis maintenance, which is some of the things that we are going to talk about here today. But before we enter this the topic itself, it's important that we talk about what is it that we based our knowledge and our research here, which is conscientiology, which is a non-materialistic science that deals with the comprehensive study of consciousness, and it's carried out by consciousness itself. So there's no one better to study you than yourself. Of course, consciousness, it's not just the result of the brain activity and or being born or dying or the physical body itself. It goes beyond this. And it's based on the consciential paradigm, which is the new scientific model that is proposed by conscientiology to understand the consciousness in a broader, transcendent way. And the consciential paradigm considers the holosomatics, which is the multiple vehicles of manifestation of the consciousness in different dimensions. So every vehicle of manifestation, every body that the consciousness uses, it's more suited for different kinds of dimensions. So the soma, the energosoma, the psychosoma, and the mental soma are suited for different kinds of interactions and situations. So there's also the existential seriality, which is multiple lifetimes, alternating the reactivation and deactivation of the physical body. So intermissive period and the interphysical life. This is all very important to understand when we are talking about Cognopolis, why this is all important. The bioenergetics, which are interactions with different types of energies. We're going to talk more about this. And of course, self-experimentation. So personal experience is the basis of consciousness self-research. So it's based on facts and parafacts as well. And this is the basis of a Cognopolis. Cognopolis is it's a experimentology. It's one of its specialties within Cognopolis is experimentology by excellence, because there is no you have to live there every day, and you have to do self-research, and you have to do inner interconsciential recycling and everything in group in that environment. And this is something that we are aiming here in Florianopolis. And I'm going to talk about other initiatives of Cognopolis that exist on this planet. But it's also important to bring up the principle of disbelief, which is do not believe in anything, not even what we inform you here in this presentation or in anything that you hear in conscientiology. Have your experiment, have your own personal experiences. This is the most important thing. We are not here to convince anyone. We're just here to inform, and you do whatever suits you with this information. And of course, we can debate and we can disagree with each other, and that's a very healthy thing to be doing. So, Cognopolis, conscientiological city of knowledge. It's a planned, implanted, and consolidated neighborhood or locality with the objective of bringing together consciousness researchers in environments with structures, intra and extraphysical ones, optimized to favor the theories of the consciential paradigm, boosting personal and group evolutions. So when we are talking here about conscientiological Cognopolis, so to speak, it's important to bring up this subject that it's a physical location that people gather to apply the theories of consciential paradigm together. So this is the whole point that we're trying to achieve here by implementing Cognopolis. And down on the picture, you have many structures that already exist in Foz do Iguaçu, Brazil, that are part of Cognopolis in that region. Which is on the left, Tertuliarium, which is a place to have debates. Every day there are debates about the encyclopedia of conscientiology verbetes, that every single day there is one that is presented there and debated at length. On the center there is CAEC campus, which is let me put it this way, the main structure that exists in that Cognopolis, and that it gathers many of the important structures that exist there, such as the Tertuliarium itself, many laboratories, an Acoplamentarium laboratory, and parapsychic dynamics, and restaurant, and cafe, and bookstore. And on the right, there is the Holotheca and the Holocycle, which is and a structure. Holocycle is a collection, a big collection of dictionaries, and also of newspapers, the clippings and stuff. And the Holotheca is a collection of collections about everything that human knowledge has come with. Ever since the beginning. So this is a structure that was brought to help conscientiology researchers to broaden their cosmovision, their knowledge about the world, and about of course themselves. Because if we want to evolve, we have to learn everything there is about everything that consciousness does. And this is a somewhat outdated picture, satellite picture of the Foz do Iguaçu Cognopolis, but it shows the structures that exist there. It's a 157 hectares of area, but there is a neighborhood in the that was instituted by a municipal decree. I think it's in 2009, that names the whole neighborhood Cognopolis. But not every structure that exists in this neighborhood it's from conscientiology. So many other people lived in this area, but this area that it's not blurred, it's they are structures of conscientiology, and many campuses and other structures like condos. There are 9 condos, not all of them from conscientiology. And this number 840 Cognopolitans, people that live in Cognopolis, it's of course it's a varying number, but it's roughly this number has been for a number of years. And so it's interesting to see that many people have gathered in that environment, in that neighborhood, in that city, to study themselves and to study consciousness in depth by using all the structures that exist, and the techniques and the debates, and you immerse yourself in that environment, and you're going to come out the other way in at least a little different about how you feel about yourself and your understanding of what you are as a consciousness. And a little history on this Cognopolis. In 1995, there was the launch of the Center for Higher Studies of Consciousness, CIEC. That was the name of CIEC back then, and since they have changed for Center for Higher Studies of Conscientiology. In 1997, the Cognopolis was first published. So as public knowledge, this is the first time that this word Cognopolis has been used within conscientiology. It was in 1997, and it was a headline on CIEC, Informativo CIEC, which was a CIEC newsletter. I think it was published like monthly. And in December 1997, the headline was Cognopolis, and Valdo was talking about this topic in that newsletter. And afterwards, in 2000 was the inauguration of Holotech, and the Conscienciological Tertulias started in 2002 in the green room that exists in CIEC. And afterwards, in 2008, there was the Tertuliarium inauguration. And as I said, in 2009, the neighborhood was recognized by the municipality of Foz do Iguaçu as named Cognopolis. And in 2014, there was the inauguration of Interluding Hotel next to CAEC, which is a big landmark, a big achievement for all the ICCC to have a place to gather the interphysical society as well as the conscientiological researchers in exchange visiting Cognopolis Foz to have a comfortable place to do their conferences and also to spend a few nights there. So what does Valdo talk about Cognopolis? He talks very much about this topic throughout the years. He was the propositor of this word and this designation to what was being done to Foz do Iguaçu. So he said, he put us this way: Cognopolis. The intention of the Cognopolitans from Cognopolis Foz do Iguaçu is to serve as test subjects for other future Cognopolis and the world state. So he writes that in the lexicon of Orthopensatas. And I think our friends in Cognopolis Foz are achieving this objective, as he puts, to serve as test subjects, because other initiatives of Cognopolis have come up after Foz do Iguaçu and after everything that happened there from 1995 onwards. And we have learned a lot from each other ever since. So we have to put it this way, a Cognopolis, a settled Cognopolis, and several others pre-Cognopolis, or not as established as the first one, that is Foz do Iguaçu, but in different moments of implementation so far. So we have one here that I'm located at, which is Florianópolis, in the southern, which would be the southernmost Cognopolis. But also there's one in initiative of Pré-Cognopolis in Saquarema, Rio de Janeiro, in Domingos Martins, Espírito Santo state, and also in Natal, Rio Grande do Norte state, in the northeast of Brazil. And these initiatives, they have been proposed in different moments of conscientiology development thus far. So as I said, 95, Cognopolis Foz do Iguaçu, 2001 in Domingos Martins, Espírito Santo, which is led by Aracê, which is the institution that is established there, but also there are other institutions already having volunteers within the Aracê campus now, and they call it Pré-Cognopolis Pedra Azul, Blue Stone. There's a very recognizable landmark in that region. So in 2005, there was the proposition for Cognopolis Rosa dos Ventos, which is a name of a Serenissimus that is in intraphysical form in that region of Natal, Rio Grande do Norte, and it's led by Intercampi institution. And 2015, Florianópolis, Santa Catarina, the Pré-Cognopolis in Santa Catarina, which is a provisional name that we have given to this location, but we intend to discuss among all the volunteers what would be the proper name in a later date. And in 2021, Saquarema, Rio de Janeiro, which has an IPC campus, has positioned itself, and its volunteers have positioned themselves to become a Pré-Cognopolis as well. So to develop even further the specialty that they have in that region, which is pacifismology, or the peace study in Saquarema, Rio de Janeiro state, Brazil. And Orthocognitivus, which is the institution that I'm a volunteer at, it's a conscientiocentric institution, like all conscientiology institutions. It's based on consciential paradigm, which I have explained already. It's not. It's a non-profit, of course, and based on volunteering. And its main objective is to build this Cognopolis here in this region of Greater Florianópolis, Brazil, in the southern part of Brazil, in Santa Catarina state. You see that as much as I have been speaking about Cognopolis, I think it's easy to mistakenly only take into account the physical structures of a Cognopolis, which is, for example, those gardens and green areas that you have in those pictures on the right, and rivers, sea, lakes, obelisks, porches, landmarks, the conscientiocentric institutions, and the structures, like I said, Holotech, Gestionarium, Acoplamentarium, parapsychic dynamics, the bookstore, the condominiums where people live, and all that. And also the land itself, and only the financial resources. But I'm here to expand, to broaden this this concept a bit further, so we can understand other structures that exist within Cognopolis that are as important as the physical ones. So to do a parallel of the physical structures, the extra-physical structures, and the intraconsciential structures, I've taken this from a course, a very interesting course that we've had with the researchers Everaldo Bergonzini and Lilian Zolé last year. They gave a course on healthy conviviality in Cognopolis, and they presented this hypothesis, of course, of different structures that exist within Cognopolis. So the gardens and green areas would relate to extraphysical structures as phytoenergy and phytoectoplasm, and the interconsciential structure, energosomaticity, the invigoration, the sympathetic assimilation, the sympathetic de-assimilation. The rivers, sea, lakes would be the hydro energy and energy strings, and the bioenergetic detox, as in the interconsciential structure, and so forth. You can afterwards have the watch this presentation with, and you can pause the video and see a little bit more for yourselves about this. But it's very interesting to understand that every Cognopolis has a extra-physical counterpart, and of course it's comprised of many intraconsciential universes that exist, which are the conscience, the interphysical consciousness that live there and visit and work and so forth, and also the extra-physical consciousness that supports that that environment for it to be able to do its goal, which is to contribute in the extra-physical urbanization of planet Earth. So, what brings the Cognopolitans together? So Valdo puts in the verbatim Cognopolitan, Cognopolita of the Encyclopedia of Conscientiology, that the memories of the commitments made during the intermissive course stimulate the conscience to unite, forming Cognopolis and the gathering of Cognopolitans with related parent origins in common evolutionary, cosmoethical, and proexological interest. So Cognopolis is a commitment made in the extraphysical dimension for people to work together towards implementing this intraphysical environment that is similar in Holotech and also in its objectives as the intermissive course itself. So this is why people that have gone to the intermissive course are attracted to the Cognopolis, because it aims to mimic to a certain degree, of course, that it's possible, what was being done in the intermissive course, which is to study evolutionary and to bring former enemies together to do evolutionary work together, and to do interassistentiology and so forth. So, what is the evolutionary sense of Cognopolis? You see, many of us have been, throughout the centuries, living our lives sort of just mindlessly, as so to speak, just living as human beasts, so to speak. And when we become conscientious again, when we dissonate, we go back to our pathological extraphysical community that gathers people that think, that photonize like us. Okay. At some point, we do a 180 degree change in our thocenes, even for a split second, so the helpers can access us, and they pinch us from this pathological commonex, and they offer, if of course we have some kind of merit, if we would like to be a part in an intermissive course that happens in this extraphysical dimension. So we are taking to this very homeostatic environment where we can develop, when we can work with ourselves without much interruption or much problems, so to speak. What we need to achieve with people that we have done wrongly in the past, for example, when we get a new body, a new physical body, to be able to be sent to the intraphysical dimension in a few years time, and so forth. So when we study everything and we develop our proexis, we then resonate in the interphysical dimension, and usually that's the most common thing, because Cognopolis are still rare in this planet Earth, in this interphysical dimension. We resonate in pathological interphysical communities, usually. Of course, it's not horrible, but there is some kind of pathology that happens in most households that intermissivists resonate in. Okay, but we miss that whole scene of the intermissive course in some degree. Some people have the foreigner syndrome, specifically because of this. So this intermissivists that have gone to this intermissive course, they somehow they find each other by common values and common ideas, and the conscientiology itself, as it is structured now, and they gather and they gather and they gather, and they set up intraphysical environments that they can live and they can work and they can develop their poems together, and debate and talk about evolution and stuff. And this is how Cognopolis come to life. And this is the reason that Cognopolis happened. So we can replicate something that exists in the extra-physical dimension, and we can work side by side with the extra-physical dimension to make to do our part of the bargain, or our part of the work that the helpers, for example, that are in the extra-physical dimension cannot do, because they don't have the physical body, the dense energies that we have. So this is the evolutionary sense of building and maintaining Cognopolis. So to make a conscient intraphysical consciousness think more like an extraphysical consciousness. So the sense, the logic, the evolutionary logic, to think about all the past lives that have come before, and all the quarrels and the fights and the wars and everything that happened in the past, that we can overcome by working together towards evolutionary clarity task, for example, clarification task, that intermissivists are bound to do in this interphysical dimension. So about evolutionology. The basic purpose of every conscientiological cognopolis is to create and maintain an oasis of cosmoethical, evolutionary, and priority reflection dedicated to interassistenciology. So this is all what Cognopolis is about. So I just wanted to give a brief explanation of what Cognopolis is. And thank you very much for listening to me. And I hope I can answer your questions, and we can debate here on this topic. And let's build Cognopolis together.
Very nice, Gustavo. I think it was a very nice introduction to understanding this, Cognopolis a little bit better. So why don't we start with we have a question here from Ana Ruiz. She asks, Gustavo, do you know when was the first time that the neologism Cognopolis was used and published by Professor Valdo? I think you mentioned, right?
Yeah, 1997. And the information that I have is that after CAEC existed for a few years, 95, was the establishment of CAEC. Afterwards, there was the Field of Dreams, Campo dos Sonhos condominium. And when this Campo dos Sonhos condominium was registered at the prefecture of Foz do Iguaçu, I think on the same day, on the next day, Valdo sent a fax with this term, Cognopolis. So it says a lot about what Cognopolis is all about. It is about gathering intermissivists to settle there, like lifelong settlement in Cognopolis. So this is a very important aspect of a Cognopolis, which is different from other conscientiological initiatives that exist on planet Earth, where people do not live within an area and do their volunteer work and do their everyday life work and all that. This is one of the basic differences of Cognopolis and other structures that exist.
So I was just thinking here, because you have the campus and you have the Cognopolis. So what is the key difference between the two?
Well, I would say this is debatable, of course, and we are debating this very question within the conscientiological community nowadays. But I understand that a campus always has a set specialty. So, for example, CAEC has the parapercepciology specialty. It's about studying parapsychism. Reaprendência is about studying re-educationology, something like this. And Sinvexis is about studying invexology. So the gathering of these many specialties, they make up Cognopolis. And also people living there and working there and going for a walk together and debating and having lunch together and everything. Uh, uh, all these structures, they make up Cognopolis.
Interesting, because I'm thinking it's also like the interest, how could I say, you have that objective of wanting to build a Cognopolis. I'm not sure if this is something related.
People say that they were kind of taken by surprise when Valdo mentioned this term Cognopolis. People that lived in ISIC back in the day. But afterwards, the groups, they must at some point decide that they want to be Cognopolis, to build Cognopolis, because it is a very specific set of structures and the mindset that people have to be able to build Cognopolis. It's not an easy and uneventful decision that people take together. It's a very important landmark in the personal evolutionary file of everyone involved.
And it seems like from the slides you were showing,
Valdo used to say that everyone that deals with Cognopolis is going to be working towards his or her past 20 lives. Everything that has happened, bad or good, it's going to be dealt with all the extra physical and physical consciousness that were involved, at least in the past 20 lives, are going to be worked when you are working to build a Cognopolis and to live in a Cognopolis, for that matter.
Yeah, very interesting. So we have another question here from Anna. Did you study the study of city of knowledges? Did you study the city of knowledge created in the past that has a similarity with Cognopolis? So I think did you study the city of knowledges?
You see that, for example, Cognopolis, Foz do Iguaçu, there are a few structures in that slide that I showed that are similar to what happened, for example, in Greece, in the ancient Greece. The agora and the agora in English, and the Tertulianum itself, and some of the terms that exist. But every city of knowledge that have existed in some fashion in the past, probably we were involved in somehow in their making, in their maintenance. But we, as after doing the intermissive course, we see the gaps of lucidity and evolution that have happened in the past, and we are working very hard not to make the same mistakes now. So we of course, everything was beautiful in ancient Greece, but no women or slaves voted, and everything was beautiful with pure democracy, but only men voted, and men with money, So this is a evolving concept of a homeostatic geography, so to speak, so we can reach in 2021 what we understand now as a conscientiological Cognopolis, which takes into account everything about the consciential paradigm. So we cannot leave just one aspect of the consciential paradigm out of the question to have a successful Cognopolis.
So it's really very much a planned. There's a lot of planning involved and incorporation of this multidimensional, aspects.
Yeah, it's a Cognopolis is an strategy within Heuvex, within extraphysical urbanization. It's one of the
Yes.
strategies, and Heuvex itself is it's um it's led by Serenissimi and evoluciologists and consciousness that have a much higher level of cosmovision and maturity. So they they do not do anything lightly or just for doing it. Everything has an evolutionary purpose for this consciousness, and we as Cognopolis builders, every uh, volunteer for conscientiology can be, and at some point uh, of course, it's a hypothesis, but we'll feel the need at least to be in a Cognopolis for at least a short period of time. Everyone involved in this understands it is important because it has at some point the whole scene of uh, the Holocene of Heuvex, and also the Holocene of Serenissimi and evoluciologists. And of course, they had if it's their idea to set up the cities, of course they are responsible and they have to show up from time to time to see how things are going and to help in group processes and everything. So it is a very interesting environment to be present with this kind of consciousness of cosmovision and maturity and cosmoethics mostly.
Yes, yes. You said it was in one of your slides, you said that this Cognocless serves as a test for other future Cognopolises and the world state. So this is just like the beginning, right? It's like, there's a question here, I think it's related. Annalise says, Gustavo, how can the building and maintenance of a Cognopolis help towards the internationalization of conscientiology? And you can...
Yeah, it's it's the very beginning, but just by having at least one Cognopolis in the planet shows that the extraphysical urbanization it's in full throttle, so to speak. And about the internationalization of conscientiology, I understand that it's a process that takes creation of critical mass of conscientiology research, self-researchers, to do a lot of intraphysical recycling with the problems that they have, or for example, with the consciential paradigm. I think everyone understands what aspects of the consciential paradigm it doesn't suit me as well as I would like to think it does. So I don't know, for example, universalism or cosmoethics, or there is some topic of, for example, the consciential paradigm that I understand less, then I have to deepen my knowledge to do the interconsciential recycling. And when we have a critical mass of researchers that have done this, the internationalization of conscientiology will be somewhat smoother because people will take the responsibility into their hands to do this. They will understand, for example, that maybe part of their praxis could be abroad, and they will feel the need, the urgency, for example, to learn English or to learn Spanish or to learn German. That some things are happening in Germany and Austria as well nowadays. So people will understand that for themselves, and of course they will not delegate this responsibility to anyone else to do Claritask, for example, in the world stage. And about the world state that you asked, this is a very far flung idea that will happen. Valdo used to kid that I forgive you until the year 3000. He used to kid like that, and of course we do all kinds of jokes that this is the year that we are going to have the world state in this planet Earth, when there will be no boundaries between countries and between people and between tribes and between consciousness. This is the what world cosmoethical world state is about.
Nice. So we have another question from Annalise. And how do the volunteers residing in the current Cognopolis contribute to the support of other Cognocles's initiatives on the planet? And I think you mentioned a few things. I'm not sure if there's others that you'd like to mention.
For example, in Cognopolis, Foz do Iguaçu, there is a campus of consciential therapy. Consciential therapy is adamant to be it's you cannot give up consciential therapy if you want to have a successful Cognopolis, because people have to learn to do self-consciential therapy, and there is an institution, OIC, that helps people understand the self-consciential therapeutical process and applying it to themselves. So we have these volunteers that are consciential therapists, and I know there was the bridge talks about consciential therapy in the beginning of this year, and people are applying themselves into this specialty of conscientiology to help keep other intermissivists, so to speak, sane, to perform their self-proexis and their part in the group maxi-proexis. So this is one example of how one Cognopolis that it's more established nowadays, that is Foz, is helping other processes. So I don't live in Foz. I have this commitment to build a Cognopolis here in Florianopolis. But I take advantage of this opportunity, for example, for consciential therapy. And every time I go to Foz do Iguaçu, I try to at least do something related to consciential therapy, to be near the campus, to I don't know, anything that helps me when I get back to my daily life. I am a bit different. I have understood what self-care is all about.
Okay, so there's another question. What structures and processes of a Cognopolis and a pre-Cognopolis currently help us to think more like a consciex, and why is it important?
Well, to think as a consciex is to understand what's going on, to have the top of our maturity and our hollow memory and our ideas, the innate ideas that we have gathered throughout the centuries that and millennia that we exist as consciousness, and to apply to every situation that we are in every holocene that we manifest ourselves. So, for example, when we are writing a verbete of the Encyclopedia of Conscientiology, we have to think in a very specific way about how we want to present our ideas, our experiences. And when we debate the verbetes in the Tertuliário, in Conscienciological Tertulias, we very technically and to the point, we go to the point of what we want to express as an idea that is, for example, in the pathology, the factology, or in the phenology of the verbete. So this is one way to think like a consciex, because consciexes, they are what they think and what they feel. we have to pay attention to what we think, what we feel, and our energies, our thought scenes, so to speak. Otherwise, we are not going to have control over our lives as consciexes, you know. So, for example, writing verbetes and debating them in Tertuliarium, and also the laboratories that exist for example, in CAEC and other campuses of conscientiology, such as, for example, the Serenarium that exists in Asimvexis campus, and also in Aracê campus in Cognopolis, pre-Cognopolis Pedra Azul, that you stay in that laboratory for 3 days, just by yourself, without a cell phone, without any interruptions, and you are with yourself. If you don't like what you see, it is what you are, and you have to deal with it. It's an experience in itself. And since consciexes are what they think and what they feel about themselves and others, we as conscience, we can start to practice this sort of living as a consciex now, by using, for example, these structures. And also another example is to answer the conscientiogram book. If you study more about this book, you will see that it's like you as a consciex are asking yourself as a conscient how you have lived your life thus far. So it's a very interesting book to deepen our knowledge about ourselves and to do some important diagnosis of our flaws, our strong traits, our absent traits, and all that, based, for example, on that book and the conscientiometrology specialty of conscientiology. And Conscious does it very well with their courses. There are many courses, for example, online courses that help you answer all the questions in that book, Conscientiogram. So it's a very interesting tool as well.
And I guess I should just mention, for those people who don't know, we do have the book free to download on our website, so we can leave the link. Okay, great. So another question. How does a Cognocles contribute to the process of evolutionary groupality?
There's one aspect that has to be taken into consideration when we live with other consciousness, which is the admiration disagreement binomial, which is, I see all your strong traits and all that everything that you have done that is good, that it's evolutionary, that's helped me in any way, but I still can disagree with your ideas or with your philosophical ideas and some of your values as well. But as intermissivists, for example, we are bound to work together towards, for example, building Cognopolis. So we have to, even though we have disagreements, we have to find a way to work together to develop different specialties of conscientiology that will compose a broader thing that is Cognopolis, for example, in different campuses and different conscientiological institutions that exist to develop conscientiological specialties. For example, Orthocognitivus, which is the institution that I volunteer at, the main specialty is cognopoliology. So it's the study of Cognopolis. So we go straight to the point that we want to build a Cognopolis, and we have to study the best practices of what works in Cognopolis and what doesn't work. So this is a very interesting way of healthy groupality and within Cognopolis. We have to work. We have to learn how to work together, even though we have problems from past lives, for example. But that's minor. That's a lesser of a concern when we have such a big uh, uh, um, evolutionary endeavor to achieve together. And this great work that we do as many pieces of the maxim mechanism, it's going to be much more prevalent in our files as consciexes, as in the para psychoteca, parapsychoteca, that we have done this work, this evolutionary work together, and the quarrels that we had in the past are just buried inside, below all this evolutionary work that we achieved together by putting our differences aside.
So this is, I guess, one of the signs that we know this kind of positive, healthy conviviality, which shows that, you know, the Cognopolis is performing well, right? It's yeah.
Yeah, it's because Cognopolis. If we think in the consciential paradigm, if we think about false scenes, if we think about out of body experiences, there is no such thing as hidden agenda or hidden false scenes. It doesn't exist in the extra physical dimension. So if there is what we call pseudo harmony in a group, it will come to the surface within a Cognopolis, because everyone there is studying parapsychism and will develop out of body experiences and energy sensing and everything. And at some point, what's not well within that group will come to the surface. And two things: people will work out those sharp edges, or they will just give up living together. And we, as a group in conscientiology, are working to, every time we have such a problems that come to the surface, we deal together through paradiplomacy, through consciential therapy, through group decisions that are made, through claritas and everything. So we can always achieve higher and higher layers of our manifestation as consciousness, the maturity that we have as consciexes, and sometimes even further than this. Sometimes we don't have that specific maturity in that point, and we can develop this specific point while being a conscient, just by being with other people that are more mature than we are, for example.
Very nice. So we have one last question for today. Gustavo, what is something unexpected that you learned during the process of starting to build a Cognopolis? This is from Melanie. Very nice question.
Everything was unexpected. I was learning along the way, so to speak. Valdo, to talk about my process specifically, Valdo proposed the Cognopolis here in 2015 in Florianopolis region. And only after that, of course, I was already a conscientiology volunteer, but only after the fact, I started to deepen myself into understanding what Cognopolis is, how to build it the best way possible, and to know where to seek resources to make this possible. So, for example, by going to Foz, there was times that me and my duo, Annelise, we went to Foz once a month just to talk to people and to do courses and to do parapsychic dynamics and stuff, so we could cope with the holothosinic pressure, for example, in the in the region that we live here, which has a very strong holothosinic pressure towards deviation of praxis deviation, for example. But bit by bit, we overcame this, and new things happened here that helped us along the way. For example, at some point, we the Epicones decided that we could have a supervised parapsychic dynamic here on the distance. So we started to have weekly parapsychic dynamics here, and that helped a lot. We felt the need to go to FOSS less frequently because of this, because it helped keep the whole Volcinic pressure at bay, at least a little bit more than it used to. And of course, in the process, I started Penta, and I in the same year I graduated as a conscientiology teacher, and everything has been working out ever since I got myself involved in this process of Cognopolis building.
Great. Very nice. So unfortunately, we're at the end of the talk. So I'd like to thank you, Gustavo, very much for your presentation, your discussion about Cognocles, which is a very, very interesting subject that we should all become more aware of and understand more deeply. So thank you for sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I just would like to say to people that are watching us and are interested in the topic of Cognopolis, in Orthocognitivus, as I said, we go all in the Cognopolis topic and the Cognopoliology. So we are in the near future going to put up online courses on various topics that comprise Cognopolis, and we are going to I'm making a commitment with you all that we are going to have at least English subtitles for the courses that are somewhat related to Cognopolis, such as paradiplomacy and anti-deviology and para-urbanology and all that. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Gustavo. And thanks to everyone that's been watching us today. And thank you for your contribution with questions and, your support. And so I just quickly mentioned in 2 months' time, we have our next Bridge Talks. It will be about the topic of universalism. So I invite you all to come and participate. And this will be on the 13th of November, Saturday afternoon, for those people in Brazil, with Ana Lage, who is an ISIC volunteer. So guys, until then, see you next time.